Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about part of the problem when someone honestly believes that they can focus only on hypertrophy or only on strength and completely ignore the others. And I think people really don't think this through, and I think it's because they get too tied up in maybe a few power lifters who are in very tight weight classes and things, or bodybuilders who say they don't care about strength, without understanding that there's something like 90% overlap between these two. It's like 90% overlap between these two. And so I get someone who comes to my channel, and they occasionally do, well, I'm hypertrophy oriented. Even worse if they call themselves a bodybuilder. I'm like, if you're not injecting anything and stepping on a stage, you are not a bodybuilder. Okay, don't even use that word. It's not what you are. But they'll say that, and I'm like, so you're telling me that if you're going to spend the same amount of time in the gym and build the same amount of muscle, you're telling me that you don't want to be strong or athletic at all? That you just want to be completely useless and weak and unathletic for the same amount of work and effort? You think that that's wise? You don't think that there's benefits in life to being stronger and more athletic? Right? And sometimes that will click a light bulb for some people. They're like, wait, what are you saying? That it's that easy? Yeah, your workouts aren't going to take any longer to get brutally advanced lifter level strong while still maximizing hypertrophy. You're going to spend the same amount of time in the gym. All right, we come over to, again, my strength athletes, or people who say, well, I just want to get strong, I don't care about getting big. Well, you can want in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up faster. All right, because you maybe believe that there's some delusional situation to where some guy in Wisconsin who benches 450, who weighs 155, that you have this view of this delusional fictional being, or this weird statistical outlier, that you somehow think that you can separate the two, and that's just not reality. Study after study after study after study keeps showing that hypertrophy for the individual person, we're not talking about comparing always two separate people. All right, hypertrophy, when comparing you as an individual, will produce 90% of your strength gains. 90%. When they do DEXA scans of elite lifters, they can look at how they rank. They can look at their DEXA scans, experts have found, and they can determine how they're going to place compared to each other in a powerlifting meet. Okay, size equals strength potential. Do you see where we're going with all of this? So you people who get caught up in this idea that you only want one versus the other, it's like, well, for the guys who are saying, well, I don't care about size as much, I just want to be really strong. Well, best of luck to you. You're like my clients who say, well, they're not at a high body fat, and they're like, well, I'm not trying to gain any weight, but I want to get stronger. And it's like, okay, but be happy with a 5-pound increase on your bench this year. Or, over the next 2 years, you're going to gain 10 or 15 pounds maybe on your bench press, if you're lucky. Unless you're a novice. Like, if you're not going to gain scale weight, it's just, you don't have to worry about this stuff happening. The only time that's going to happen is if we see a change in neural drive. Like, if you haven't been doing heavy singles, or you don't have your form perfected, okay, fine, we can make your bench and squat and stuff go up without gaining muscle. But it's going to be short-lived. And at about 6 weeks, you're going to cap out. You're going to have to come in and focus on hypertrophy. And I'll go so far as to say that, and for my lifters, and again, people notice how thick most of my lifters are. In general, a lot of my clients, Mike and all those guys you guys have seen over the years, Doug, got some thick lifters. We spend 90% of our gym time focused on muscle mass, hypertrophy, hypertrophy, hypertrophy. Okay, and if we're worried about weight class, and then it becomes body composition. We need to be bigger and we need to be leaner in that case. All right, And that's just the reality of it. And this is what the research shows. And this is what you see with most of the best lifters. They're all jacked. Most of them are lean, unless they're in a super high weight class to where it doesn't matter as much. So the guys then who are coming over talking about chasing, well, I care about hypertrophy. Well, strength training done correctly outside of the novice phase is going to be 90% hypertrophy training. And here's the thing I would say to you. Do you not realize it would behoove you to do some actual real heavy work in there too? All right. Look at stuff that you've seen guys like Lau McDonald or Menno Hanselman and stuff point out. The guys who do heavy work are denser and harder. Like even if you're chasing whatever for that reason, the people who actually do some heavy work in there also seem to have a little bit possibly better. It's potentially it might be more myofibrillar growth. Also probably, if they're not doing just endless volume, they're not holding as much water in the muscles, so it's real muscle mass, not fake muscle. When they get leaner, they look harder. They look denser. What a lot of people like to call muscle maturity. Muscle maturity is probably just a case of large amounts of myofibrillar growth. It's really what it is. All right. So for you guys who are like, well, I don't care. It's like, well, you need to care. What about injury prevention in real life? Like the heavy lifting is like people think, well, I'm going to get hurt because I'm lifting heavier. No, that's not what the data or the research shows. Doing some of that heavy work, the big heavy movements with heavy weight, builds your bone density. It builds thicker tendons, better connective tissue. Okay. It's going to make you more functional. It's going to make you less prone to injuries. Okay. Strong people are harder to kill. And it doesn't make any sense for someone who's going to go to the gym and train and claim to have serious goals to disregard either one of these components, whether it's hypertrophy or strength. It doesn't make sense. Because you're going to spend the same amount of time training if you do all this intelligently. There are benefits, tangible benefits to doing both. And I think the only reason people think this way is because they truly believe that they have to compromise these things. And that might only be the case at the most ultra elite levels. But even then, that doesn't seem to be the case either, does it? Because even world record holding lifters all the time do tons of hypertrophy work. Right? Then you go over to bodybuilding. Some of the best, greatest bodybuilders of all time work strong on heavy 1-rep lifts. Okay, so even then, it doesn't really happen to be the case. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.